The Krell Empire had conquered 47 star systems in less than a decade. Their crimson warships moved through the galaxy like a plague, leaving nothing but subjugated worlds and shattered resistance in their wake. The Galactic Council had tried negotiation, then appeasement, then desperate alliance. All had failed. The Krell answer was always the same: submit or burn. Ambassador Sarah of the Tholian Collective stood before the council chambers, her crystalline body flickering with anxiety. "The Krell fleet has entered the Outer Rim," she announced, her voice resonating through the hall. "They demand our surrender within 1 solar cycle. If we refuse, they will reduce our worlds to ash, just as they did to the Vexen Union." Around the circular chamber, representatives from 100 species shifted uncomfortably. They had all heard the stories. The Krell didn't just conquer, they made examples. Entire civilizations erased from existence to prove a point. "Then we have no choice," rumbled Elder Vorath of the stone-skinned Gorak. "We must surrender. At least under their rule, our people will survive." A murmur of reluctant agreement rippled through the assembly. It was the logical choice, the only choice. "There is one option we haven't considered," a voice spoke from the back of the chamber. All eyes turned to the human delegation. Ambassador Chen Wei stood calmly, his hands clasped behind his back. Beside him, General Sarah Kovacs remained stone-faced, her military uniform a stark contrast to the flowing robes of the other delegates. "The humans," Sarah said with barely concealed disdain. "You've been part of this council for less than 50 years. Your species controls barely 3 systems. What could you possibly offer?" Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We offer something the Krell have never encountered before. Humanity's particular brand of stubbornness." "You're mad," Vorath declared. "The Krell have obliterated species 10 times more powerful than yours. What makes you think you stand a chance?" General Kovacs stepped forward. "Because we've spent the last century studying warfare as an art form. Not for conquest, but for survival. We've been preparing for this moment since we first learned we weren't alone in the universe." "You would declare war on the Krell Empire?" Sarah's crystalline form pulsed with disbelief. "On behalf of the entire council?" "No," Chen said quietly. "We would declare war on behalf of humanity. What the council chooses to do is their own decision, but we will not submit. We will not kneel, and we will not watch another species be exterminated without a fight." The chamber erupted in chaos. Some delegates called the humans insane. Others begged them to reconsider. A very few, looked at the human delegation with something that might have been hope. 3 weeks later, the Krell 7th Fleet entered human space with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. Their commander, War Master Korath, had personally overseen the destruction of 6 civilizations. He expected the humans to surrender immediately, as all primitives did when faced with overwhelming force. Instead, his sensors detected something impossible. The humans were advancing to meet him. "A full battle fleet," his tactical officer reported, confusion evident in his voice. "They're not retreating, War Master. They're attacking." Korath's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Let them come. We'll add their burned ships to our collection." The battle began at 600 hours ship time. The Krell opened with their standard doctrine. Overwhelming firepower concentrated on the enemy's capital ships. But the human fleet didn't behave like any opponent they had faced before. They scattered, reformed, and scattered again, using tactics that seemed chaotic but were devastatingly effective. Human destroyers darted between Krell battlecruisers like silverfish, too fast to track, too numerous to ignore. Their weapons weren't as powerful as Krell armaments, but they struck with surgical precision, targeting engines, weapon systems, shield generators. While the Krell focused on destroying, the humans focused on disabling. Then came the missiles, thousands of them, launched from positions the Krell hadn't even detected. They swarmed the Krell fleet like angry insects, and when they detonated, they didn't explode. They deployed networks of monomolecular wire that sliced through shield arrays and hull plating alike. "What kind of weapon is this?" Korath demanded, watching in disbelief as his flagship's shields collapsed under the onslaught. General Kovacs, watching from the bridge of the UNSC Indomitable, allowed herself a grim smile. "We call it innovation born from desperation. Every war we've ever fought against ourselves taught us something new. We've had thousands of years of practice." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Krell 7th Fleet was scattered debris floating through the void. Korath's flagship limped away, crippled and burning, the only survivor allowed to escape. "Let him go," Kovac ordered when her weapons officer requested permission to finish them. "Let him tell the Empire what happened here. Let them know that humanity doesn't surrender." News of the battle spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The impossible had happened. The Krell had been defeated. Not just defeated, but humiliated. Their supposedly invincible fleet broken by a species that most of the galaxy had dismissed as inconsequential. In the Galactic Council chambers, Ambassador Chen addressed the assembly once more. "The Krell think conquest is inevitable because they've never faced true resistance. They've fought civilizations that valued preservation over victory, survival over sacrifice. But humanity," he paused, looking at each delegate in turn, "we learned long ago that some things are worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. The Krell will send more fleets," Elder Vorath warned, though his tone had changed from dismissal to something approaching respect. "Yes," Chen agreed, "and we'll be ready. But here's what the Krell don't understand about humanity. We don't just fight to win. We fight to teach others how to fight back. Any species that wants to stand with us, we'll show them what we've learned. We'll share our tactics, our weapons, our stubborn refusal to accept defeat." Ambassador Sarah stepped forward, her crystalline body now glowing with determination rather than fear. "The Tholian Collective stands with humanity, as do the Gorak," Vorath rumbled. One by one, delegates rose, pledging their species to the resistance. Not because they believed in certain victory, but because the humans had shown them something they'd forgotten, that dignity and freedom were worth the risk. The Krell Empire had conquered 47 systems through fear. But fear only works until someone refuses to be afraid, and humanity, with all its flaws and contradictions, had never been good at doing what it was told. The war would be long. It would be brutal. Many would die. But for the first time in a decade, the galaxy had hope, and the Krell Empire had learned something every bully eventually learns. There's always someone willing to stand up and throw the first punch, no matter how big you are. Humanity had thrown that punch. Now the real fight could begin.